Echoing through the hills of central Washington, just west of the Cascade Range, is an unmistakable sound. A sound that rings familiar to rail fans around the world. The whistle of a steam locomotive. And as this locomotive thunders down the tracks past one of America's most famous mountains, its passengers soon realize why it's called the Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad. The railroad was established in 1980 by the Western Forest Industries Museum, a non-profit corporation. The original group operated the train until 1984, when it changed over to current management. As a tourist railroad, the Mount Rainier Scenic is one of a rare breed, a link back into our past when trains were the norm and powerful steam engines pulled passengers and freight from coast to coast. Today, the train operates on weekends from Memorial Day to the end of September and daily from June 15th to Labor Day. After careful maintenance and routine checks are performed by the dedicated staff who run the operation, the train is ready for its first run of the day. Anticipation runs high amongst people who have arrived from all over the country to ride this historic railroad. Many are riding a steam locomotive for the first time, while others, who remember the days when trains were still a means of daily transportation, anticipate stepping back in time to get reacquainted with an old friend. One of the first things most people notice on a train are its sounds, the clickety-clack of the tracks, the creaking of the cars, and the unmistakable whistle that lets everyone know a train is coming. The railroad operates on tracks leased from Weyerhaeuser Corporation and runs a 14-mile stretch from the beautiful little town of Elbe, Washington to Mineral Lake and back. On most days, the engine is a 1924 Porter Mikado 282, but every so often, when the Porter is in for service, a rare 1930 Heisler is called to duty. The scenery quickly turns to beautiful emerald green hills covered with towering evergreen trees. Wildlife is abundant. This is logging country, and much of the track was originally laid by timber companies. In this corner of the country, trains and logging have a rich and colorful history dating back to the 1880s when steam first arrived in the woods. Previous to that, horses and oxen were used to pull the logs out. It was a slow and inefficient process. With the arrival of steam, the logging railroad was born. Early operations were crude and often consisted of a mile or two of track laid from the river's edge to the logging site. With the arrival of mainline railroads, the logging company had a way of getting the logs to the sawmill and market and no longer needed to rely on rivers for transportation. Railroads flourished. On the often flimsy and steep tracks laid in the woods, the preferred engines were gear type, manufactured by companies like Shea, Climax, and Heisler. They were designed to give maximum tractive effort with minimum weight. Speed was sacrificed to power, and flexibility was their trademark. These engines proved to be invaluable workhorses when it came to hauling logs out of the woods. The men who worked these railroads were also a special breed, not bound by railroad tradition or experience. They made their own rules, established their own methods, and created their own equipment. No job was ever impossible, and there was always a way to get to the next tree. The work was hard and often dangerous, but none sought employment outside the woods as long as it was available. As trains slowly gave way to modern diesel trucks in the 50s, the era of railroad logging became history. As the locomotive slowly chugs by reminders of logging days gone by and over crystal clear streams, passengers eagerly await their first views of spectacular Mount Rainier. Then suddenly, as the train crosses the beautiful Nisqually River Bridge, the mountain appears from behind the foothills. At 14,410 feet, Mount Rainier is the highest peak in Washington State and the fifth highest mountain in the continental USA. Founded in 1899, the national park was the fifth created in this country and hosts many thousands of visitors every year who marveled at the size and majesty of the mountain. On the beautiful surrounding countryside, Mount Rainier boasts the largest single mountain glacier system in the lower 48 states. It has 26 in all. It also holds a record for snowfall when the winter of 1971 to 1972 over 93 feet fell at Paradise Lodge. Many picturesque waterfalls, creeks, and rivers are fed by the immense Cascade volcano that is permanently snow-covered and can be seen for over 100 miles on a clear day. Few mountains in North America figure so prominently in legends and folklore or have as colorful a history as the stately peak. Because of its close proximity to the national park, it is not uncommon for passengers on the train to get a glimpse of elk and deer browsing in adjacent meadows, and occasionally spot black bears running across the tracks. the railroad possesses 3 engines, a porter, a climax, and a heisler, the day-to-day duties usually fall on the porter. This engine was originally built in 1924 by the H.K. Porter Company of Pittsburgh, a company known more for its small and narrow-gauge engines. At 71 tons, the 282 Mikado, used by the Rainier Scenic, is thought to be the largest of its make currently in operation. The engine was originally purchased by Carlton and Post in Western Oregon and was put to work on a 55-mile branch line hauling lumber. Eventually, it ended up in Aberdeen, Washington as a switch engine. The Porter is an oil burner and was originally designed to burn Bunker C. Today, it runs on waste oil, usually collected from the crankcases of trucks and cars. Its top speed is around 30 miles per hour. After its stint at Aberdeen, Carl Schaefer of Schaefer Brothers Lumber Company put the engine on display at his ranch near Montesino. When Schaefer passed away, the engine was donated to the Rainier Scenic, where it underwent a restoration that lasted for a year and a half. Old steam engines like the Porter are proof that the familiar saying, "they don't build them like they used to," is so true. With a generous application of grease and a little tender loving care, this engine, which is nearly 70 years old, runs like a true thoroughbred down the tracks. Because the Rainier Scenic doesn't have a turntable, every other run is made with the engine pulling the cars in reverse or tender first, which can be an interesting sight to viewers seeing it for the first time. Passenger cars came from the Southern Pacific and were used in the Bay Area as commuter cars. Watching an old steam locomotive thundering down the tracks is an impressive sight, a sight that elicits a response in even the most casual of observers. For here in front of our eyes is an important piece of American history. For those who desire the ultimate train experience, the Mount Rainier Scenic offers its famous weekend dinner train. Running from late spring through November, the ride is a feast for both the eyes and the palate and features a fabulous 4-course prime rib dinner. In an authentic restored dining car, the staff worked diligently to ensure that the experience will not soon be forgotten. The food is expertly prepared in the kitchen, while the final touches are seen to in the dining area. Nothing is left to chance, and the guests will be pampered. The train leaves in the early evening and runs a 40-mile trip from Elbe to Morton and back. The ride lasts 4.5 hours and travels through the scenic foothills of the Cascade Mountains. Outside the windows, passengers are treated to some of the prettiest sights the Northwest has to offer as the train makes its way through alternating landscapes of forests and meadows.
I'll be calling your name in the order the reservations were taken. Please have your tickets ready. And Charlie here will punch a ceremonial hole in them. Larson?
After the diners are seated, the meal promptly begins with a fresh relish tray and beverages. The expert waitstaff keep the guests happy by attending to their every needs. As dining experiences go, this is one that Shirley rates very highly, for no in-city restaurant could ever match the spectacular scenery and wonderful ambience offered on a real dinner train. When the main course of sumptuous prime rib arrives, it is the perfect climax to a wonderful evening and an adventure in dining that will be remembered for a lifetime.